This is kind of our year-end wrap-up here. My name is John Kowalski. I'm part of the marketing team here at Bic Gardner, and welcome. Today there'll be a short presentation, and then we'll just kind of open it up to you. What's on your mind? How can we help? If you have any questions, comments, something going on in one of your facilities that we can help with, relating to color, appearance, or physical test, please enter it in the chat box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and we'll get to it. Also, we are recording this, and immediately concluding this presentation, you'll receive that link. Share it with colleagues, family night. You can watch it with the kids. That'll put them to sleep. No offense, Corey. Speaking of Corey, Mr. Corey Cohen, our presenter here and technical expert. He's our technical applications specialist. Corey, let me turn it to you, sir.
John, and good afternoon, everyone. So today's topic is anything goes, which is highly open-ended. So I have less a presentation for you than just a sort of smorgasbord of instruments here, a buffet of Bic Blue instruments for you to peruse from. And so just real quick, do I have my pointer activated? Let's do that. Pointer. Okay, so hopefully you can see where I'm pointing. So just to quickly go over each one, this is our standalone gloss meter. The micro gloss meter comes in several different geometries and versions. This is our BicMac for multi-angle color and effect measurements to quantify the effect of those sparkly pigments and things like that in your coatings for cars, boats, things like that. This here is our wave scan. That's for measuring the waviness, or the sort of the visual waviness, or orange peel is a term often used when using this instrument of a high gloss surface. So this is also meant for high gloss coatings like car bodies and boats and planes and things. This right here is one of our newer instruments, the Spectro 2 Profiler. So it does traditional 45C0 color measurement, 60-degree gloss built in, but it also does texture and grain evaluation. This one here on the bottom is our haze guard, and that measures the see-through quality of transparent materials like transparent packaging, lenses, things like that. And then over here on the left, we have our selection of solid color handheld spectrophotometers, beginning with our old tried and true SpectraGuide instrument. But then when you step up from there to our Spectra 2 Go, you get the excellent reproducibility that allows for digital standards. Then we have the Spectra 2 Guide, which does digital standards as well as fluorescence detection. And then our Spectra 2 Guide Pro is you get all that plus jetness measurement, which requires extra precision in the very low reflectance range. So that was my quick roundup of our blue instruments, and now it's time to turn it over to our audience and let us know what you want to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Corey, for that quick overview. Yeah, if you have any questions, need any help with anything, any clarification, please log it in the chat area, and we'll get right to it. We have some experts on the phone here, willing and able to help you. Just looking back at this past year too, really no topic is off topic as it relates to color, appearance, and physical test. Last year, through our office hours program, we talked about color theory, appearance theory, color measurement tools and uses, visual color analysis, how light booths work with the instrumentation, physical testing and field testing, measuring effect coatings, dispersion, measuring texture with the Spectro 2 Profiler that Corey showed right under the office hours little icon there. We also talked about color difference equations, transmission haze and clarity, gloss theory. So we kind of rounded out the topics, but what's on your mind? How can we help? And we also are, okay. Question in here from Michelle. I'm new to the industry, so it may seem like a basic question. No basic questions at all. Please ask away. But she continues, why do some pigments increase the gloss of paints while others dull it?
I can really only speculate a bit here. It's a little outside my purview, but so gloss is pretty much just how smooth the surface is. It's directly related to just the smoothness. I mean, if you think of running your hand over something that's glossy versus something that's very low gloss, very matte, it just feels smoother. So my guess would be that certain pigments are increasing the roughness of the surface. Some property is causing it to, that paint to cure less glossy, maybe because the particles are larger, more agglomerated in some pigments than others, things like that. But yeah, gloss is pretty much always directly related to just the smoothness of the surface. So something in those pigments is affecting that.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Hope that helps, Michelle. Eduardo, what would be the ideal location in a room for a light booth?
As far away from natural lighting as possible. Preferably in a room with no windows, or if you do have windows, try to cover them up with dark curtains, because the point, of course, of a light booth is you only want to be seeing your samples by the specified lighting in that light booth that matches those CIE illuminants. So you want to block out any other lighting as much as you can when setting up your light booth.
Great question, Eduardo. What else, folks? Keep your questions coming. We have all hour here and can really get in depth around color, appearance, physical test as you need. It's always fun to play Stump the Corey also. So that's another fun game I like. Eduardo, follow up. So preferably in a dark room with the only source of light being the booth. Yes.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah,
that is correct.
And so some other advice is just as far as visual evaluation, you really don't want to have any very chromatic colors anywhere near what you're evaluating in that light booth. You want the walls to be neutral colored, white or gray. You want your clothing to be neutral colored, because even the reflected light off of your clothing, if you're wearing like a very chromatic, like a bright red or bright green or something shirt, the reflected light from that can actually affect your evaluations. So yeah, as much neutrally colored as possible and block out as much light as possible.
Good information, Corey. Good. While we're waiting for some more questions to come in, we're also putting together our 2022 office hours, as well as our web seminar program, 60 minutes program. So at the end of the presentation today, I'll put my email address in there. If you have any suggestions of topics, things like that, send it on over. We'd love to hear from you and help out however we can. Another question here. If you have the LAB numbers for a paint, is there an effective way to go about color matching rather starting from a guess and tweaking the formula?
So there are software packages, they're referred to as combinatorial, that can take your color, your measured color, and then figure out how to mix the colorants or the pigments that you have available to match that color. They do require a lot of work to set that up, because you have to characterize every colorant you're going to be using so that the software knows what each colorant looks like. It knows what the tint strength of each colorant is and how it's going to affect your resin or your white base, and things like that. So yes, there is software. that can do that. It's just not a kind of plug and play sort of thing. It does require a lot of database work in order to set something like that up.
Does that help, Michelle? You mind if I unmute you here or unlock your microphone? You can unmute it on your side. Should be in the upper right-hand corner, a little red circle with a microphone in it. Ah, there you are.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, that helps a lot. Actually, I was just curious because we're currently dealing with a color match issue.
Okay.
I was just curious if there was a better way to go about it.
Good, good. Is there anything else we can help with? You know, while we have you and the expert in Corey.
Not off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll come up with some more questions in a bit, though.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. Question here. Is it feasible to use any 6500K bulb to mimic a D65 lighting?
No. So I'm guessing you're referring to how if you go into, you know, a hardware store or whatever, and you pick out a bulb, all bulbs now are labeled with the color temperature. And the color temperature, typically the lower the color temperature, the warmer the light is. So if you want light that is like an incandescent bulb, you get the 2700K. And if you want the very bright, very white light, that's the 6500K. But those aren't going to match the D65, the actual spectral curve, as well as the ones you'll get in these light booths, because it is daylight in particular is very, very difficult to recreate. And it's important to get not just sort of the color of the light, because you can mimic that with, you know, LED lighting that use different spectral curves, but the spectral curve itself, the actual distribution of wavelengths in the light source, is very important for metamerism. You want to make sure that your colors are actually going to match under the CIE D65 light source. And so it is important to use the bulbs for these light booths, and not just something that you get in the store.
Great. Thank you, Corey. Another question. We just received our SpectraGuide Pro several weeks ago. Hey, congratulations. That's the new one with the Jetness. So congrats. It comes with 2 licenses, and we're able to activate one Smart Lab, but unable to activate the other for the Smart Process. I have 4 days left on demo mode on Smart Process.
Okay, so these instruments do come with 2 licenses, but you get to choose between Smart Process or Smart Lab. And just the quick overview is Smart Process is meant for production plants, so it makes regular data collection, regular QC work easy. And Smart Lab is more for laboratories, R&D facilities that need to sort of play with the data a bit more than you would want for QC collection. So you do get the 30-day demo period where you get to try both before you make your decision. But once you do decide on Smart Lab or Smart Process, both licenses need to be used for the same one. So if you have loaded your Smart Lab license and you decide that you need Smart Process instead, we can switch that. So just email me with the serial number of your unit, and we can get that switched if you need.
Yeah. So Corey's email is on the screen there. Feel free to email him, and if you have any questions, or he can start licensing out for you. Okay, next question from Charmaine. How do we work on having good, accurate LAB values to follow with our suppliers?
So those are going to come from a master standard. And so you need to decide on a physical standard, a physical color that you have and can actually measure that you want to be your target. And then you can measure it in with our instruments. And the great thing, if you are using our Spectro 2 instruments or the BICMAC, those do support digital standards, which means you can measure it once at your headquarters location and distribute that standard, all the spectral data you can distribute electronically to all of your suppliers that are using those same instruments. And we do recommend, of course, doing an average when you're measuring the standard. So once you select your standard, we recommend averaging at least 5 measurements when measuring in your standard.
Okay, hope that helps. Is it it's probably not a bad thing to go to measure more spots on that standard to get that average, right?
Never hurts.
Okay.
5 is the standard we recommend, but no, it never hurts to do more.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Emerson, are color tolerances determined by assuming a point in 3D color space, then calculating the LAB or LCH tolerances by plugging them into your specific color tolerance formula? For example, CIE lab, CIE LCH tolerancing, or CMC. And he doesn't have a microphone. Okay, thanks, Emerson. Want me to repeat that, Corey?
I think I got it. So
Okay.
you're basically, I think you're basically asking how those tolerances are calculated for difference equations like CMC or 94. Is that correct? You basically just want to know how it's calculated?
Yeah, you can type in there, Emerson. Yes, that's what he said.
Okay. All right. So now we're getting into some meaty stuff. Let me pull something up.
Your favorite. And then Charmaine, we'll come back to you. I'll unmute you after Corey's done with Emerson, if that works for you. Perfect. You looking for your color theory or color equations?
I got it. Now I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen. There we go. Okay. Hold on.
Alex, there we go. Got it.
Okay. So just real quick review. Most colors are toleranced by the delta E value, but the most basic delta E equation, the delta E star, is pretty inconsistent across color space, just meaning that the sort of observability of the differences can be greater or lesser depending on where you are in color space. For example, if you look at these yellow colors here, sort of at the top left, they have really big fat tolerances. These are visual tolerances. So we have a lot of tolerance for these yellow shapes and not so much for, say, the more neutral or achromatic colors towards the center. And so there are improved difference equations such as delta E CMC 94 2000 that seek to sort of adjust color space, adjust the delta E calculation to make it that so that all colors have the same tolerance, essentially, so that a delta E CMC or a delta E 94 of 1 looks like the same color difference for a yellow as it does for a gray or white or red. And so we have these equations, and CMC is one of them. Again, 94, 2000. And so built into these equations are scaling factors that sort of increase or decrease the contribution of the LCH values towards the delta E. So, for example, we tend to have a lot of, especially for chromatic colors, our tolerance tends to be pretty high in the chroma direction. And so for those more chromatic colors, that chroma difference, that DC value would contribute less to the delta E value because we're more tolerant of it. So it's all built into the equation to make that delta E value larger or smaller depending on the standard. It's calculated based on the standard's location in color space. And so it will expand and make the delta E bigger or smaller depending on the visual tolerance rather than just the distance in LAB space.
Great. Does that help, Emerson? Okay, well, we'll see if he follows up here. Charmaine, you're on deck. I just unlocked your microphone so you're able to unmute yourself on your end. It should be in the upper right, a little round circle with a microphone. It should be red. You can just tap that and it'll flip green and you'll be live. Are you there, Charmaine? I see you still muted there. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Awesome. So I know I was asking about, the LAB values. We do the CI lab space. So we have LAB values. My question is, so we have those physical standard and we have their supplier measure it and we measure it. So especially if you have different, instruments, you're going to have that difference even on your nominal values. So how do we take account into that, with especially if you add the tolerances, if your delta difference is maybe 0.2 and then your tolerance is 0.75, you only have like that 0.55 difference that you're allowing your suppliers because of that change. And if you have different suppliers, it's kind of hard to keep track of each supplier's nominal values. Is there a system for that?
Right. So really the best way, the recommended way when you're dealing with a lot of different color instruments, for one thing, everyone should be on the same geometry. So at the very least, you want everybody using sphere spin or everybody using 45-0. Otherwise, there's just no way the numbers are going to make any sense when comparing. So if you're dealing with different 45-0 instruments or different sphere instruments across different makes and models, traditionally the recommended way is just to measure the physical standard with each individual instrument, because as you mentioned, they are the standards values. The measured nominal value is going to differ somewhat by up to a few units from instrument to instrument. And that's just the way it is. It's not that one instrument is more or less accurate. They're just different color instruments always measure differently. And so, the best way is to actually have every instrument measure the individual standard. And then the difference values, if you then measure the sample with each instrument and compare it to its own measurement of the standard, you should get consistent difference values even across different makes and models.
Okay. So it would be okay to have, if the tolerance I'm gonna have on my spec, on my LEV values, could be the same tolerance for the supplier, even though they have different nominal values.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet. You're welcome. Okay. And let's see. Emerson, no. He's looking for more on the software side of things. Does SmartLab help with calculating values?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. It will do all those calculations for you, and it will actually allow you to switch back and forth very easily. So I'm going to just pop. I'm not sharing anymore. So Hold on, I'm opening up the software.
Show us an example. Nice. Good discussion so far, folks. Some great questions. Let Corey share his screen here and get the software open. There, it's coming.
All right, can you see me?
There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to go into Smart Lab for the Spectra 2 guide, and any of our color instruments are going to have this ability. So you see I have, this is a difference measurement, so I have a standard, and then I measured a couple samples against it. Currently, we're on Delta E star. Let me see if I can make that a little bigger.
Yeah. There we go.
The calculation is Delta E star, so I can just click Properties and change the calculation to CMC. And there we go, CMC, and of course the numbers went down a bit. So this is telling me that the differences aren't as large as the Delta E calculation would have me think. So this is saying the colors are actually closer under this improved difference method than under the Delta E star. So there's CMC. If I wanted 2000, we'll do that. So it's all in the software. So once you take your measurement once and you have it in the software, you can do anything you want with it. You can adjust the illuminance. So you see on the traditional D6510, but if I want to see what it looks like under other illuminants, maybe F11, I can choose multiples, F2 and A. And there we go. I have all that data. So there's really a lot you can do with it, and it is all just calculation. Once the spectral data is in the software, it can recalculate any of these values based on any of these changes that you want to make.
Love the magic. And I just put in the chat a link to our YouTube channel. This past spring, summer, into the fall, Corey and I worked on doing a lot of smart chart video tutorials. So go in there, save that link. We have all of our web seminars, all of our office hours recordings housed there, but also those smart chart tutorials. That's in a separate playlist. And moving into 2022, we're going to continue adding video content, continue adding more tutorials. Follow up from Emerson. Thanks. This helps a lot. You are welcome, sir. My takeaway, you set a standard measurement, then upload and select, or just select the tolerance system you want to use. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, and you can also, so this is in Smart Lab. This is a project file where, as I mentioned with Smart Lab, you can manipulate things and move things around the way you want. So, changing the difference method, the tolerances, things like that is something you can do in here for your standards as well as your samples. But we also have a section called Standard Management, and this is where you can measure in and do the settings for all your standards. And again, you can pick any difference method that you want. And then once you have the settings the way you want it, you can load this onto your instrument, and it will give you an instant pass-fail reading when you measure your samples based on the tolerances that you set in here.
Nice. And can you also send this to suppliers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the beauty of digital standards. If everyone is using one of these instruments that supports digital standards like the Spectra 2 guide, Spectra 2 Go, BICMAC, the headquarters location can send that standard to all of their suppliers, and they don't need to have physical panels to measure for each one of them.
Yep. Perfect. Like how I teed that up, Corey?
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, Eduardo, what's a good delta E tolerance? Some suppliers indicate that a delta E of 1 is good practice, but sometimes that's not good enough. What do you think?
Yeah, so this goes back to the delta E star versus the improved difference equations. So the delta E star, as we saw, this again, this is a representation of visual tolerances across color space. So we can see that we have larger visual tolerances for more chromatic colors. We have larger visual tolerances for lighter colors than darker colors. And so, you know, where a delta E of 1 for a green color may not be noticeable. We can't see that difference with the naked eye if we're dealing with like a black or a dark gray or another achromatic color. That difference might pop out to us much more. And so the purpose of these improved difference equations, the CMC 94 2000, is to sort of make color space more uniform so that a delta E of 1 for your green color looks, the difference looks the same as a delta E of 1 for any other color. And so with those equations, generally the desired delta E, the delta E that marks you know, visual acceptability is set at 1.
Nice. Thanks for the clarification, Corey. Another question from Michelle. Why does the addition of pigments appear to generally soften films? And is there a way to minimize the effect?
I wish I could help you. We're getting a little more into the paint chemistry, and that's just not an area I am well versed in.
Okay. Well, we can follow up with you, Michelle, and that would be more of a BIC Additives. They are our sister company, BIC Additives. We can forward your comments along to them, and they should be able to help you. Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. Other questions, comments? Like I said, okay, let's see. Here we have one. Is it easy to link backward compatible with older version of the micro trigloss unit? We have a 10-year-old unit and a new one. My hope is to use one software with either unit.
So only our latest generation of microgloss meters, they usually begin with, the catalog number usually begins with 45. It's a 4-digit number, 4561 or 4563. Those are the only ones that work with smart charts. So if you do have the older one, both units will work with our EasyLink software, which if you're not familiar, that's it's a spreadsheet program with some macros for downloading the data. So that still will work with both units. You just have to make sure to have a 32-bit version of Excel installed in order to use it. So if you need a copy of that software, shoot me an email, corey.cohen@altana.com. It's on the screen right now, and I can send you a download link.
Yep. And also, too, if you're looking to upgrade that older version, you can reach out to your sales rep. They may be able to pull some year-end magic for you and give you a deal on a trade-in. You never know. Eduardo, is there a way to fix the scale of the graphs shown on the Smart Lab report?
Fix the scale of okay, let's go to reports.
Yeah.
Let's go to reports. I'm sorry, did you say Smart Lab or Smart Process?
Smart Lab.
Okay.
Yeah, to fix the scale of the graphs.
Which instrument are you using? Because they're all a bit different.
I'll let him respond here. Profiler.
Profiler. Okay.
New one too. Look at that. We got a Spectra 2 Guide Pro in the audience and now a Profiler. The latest and greatest.
Do
Corey, get into the software here.
this may be it, Kowalski. This may. Oh God, come on.
We may have got to stump the Corey.
Yeah, well, stump the computer first. So
Okay, all right.
Yes.
That's all right. Here, in the meantime, let me stall. I'm going to put in the chat there just a little statement here. Yeah, currently work on a 2022 program for office hours and our 60 Minutes web seminar series. If there's any feedback, comments, any requests for specific programs or topics, you can send it to me. My email's right there, and we'll get it into the program. And also at any time too, you can always reach out to me, Corey, or respond to any of the automated emails you get regarding the invites and the videos or the recording links that you'll get. You can reply to those. Those come to marketing, and we can funnel them to the appropriate person. So if you have technical issues or applications challenges, we can get those to Corey or someone in your region that can help you out. Let's see. Corey, sounds like Corey's still wrestling with the software, or the computer, I should say. Okay, another question while you're doing that. Can you do two things at once, Corey?
No, but go on.
Okay. Does the level of gloss affect the accuracy of color readings?
I wouldn't say it affects the accuracy of color readings, but let's do this first, and then I will get to the gloss question.
Perfect.
So the one way I can think of to adjust the size of the graphs in here is to do what you can do is there's a way. So first of all, let me just show you how I got here. As you can see, I'm having trouble generating the report right now. But so you select your data, you click print. Yeah, this computer's on its way out. It's just mad it's about to be replaced. So we'll just let it throw a tantrum and go here. So in configuration, this is where you can configure all the pages of your report. And this is pretty much the same whether you're using Smart Process or Smart Lab once you get to this point. And so this gives you the ability to do a single page report. And then you can choose how many items that you want. How many columns, how many rows, how you want to format the page, and then you can select which graphs you want. And sort of move them around and
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can configure it into a single page report, where you can configure it in landscape and in portrait mode and have different sort of frames or boxes where your different report items can go.
Okay. Does that help, Eduardo? Let's see here. Thanks for showing that. That seems like the reporting function is a question we get a fair amount.
I think we do we have a video on that one?
Yeah, we do. It's on the YouTube channel. So if you want to learn some more tips and tricks, take a look there. Okay, gloss, you ready?
Yes, gloss. Okay, so
Hold on. Putting the brakes on, Eduardo. Kind of. The single page area is not available.
the single. Are you saying the option? You're not
Yeah.
seeing it.
Yeah.
Are you running the latest version of Smart Chart, which is 7.3.1?
Did they just add that to that version?
Not the latest version. I think it was a few versions ago. But if you're running like version 5, I don't think you would have it.
Okay. He's running 7.1.1.
I think that should have it, but yeah, you can download the latest from our website. So if you're not seeing it, maybe install 7.3.1. It's at bic-instruments.com/software. And yeah, if it's still not there, just connect with me and we'll figure out what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, shoot Corey a note there if that doesn't help. Okay, now on to gloss, Michelle. Here we are. Does the level of gloss affect the accuracy of a color reading?
One minute.
Certainly, I'll stall. We'll see if the dog barks at the UPS guy. So, I guess a very good possibility. Okay. And then follow up to that, does it affect the accuracy of color readings? But also, are the measurements based on the absorption or the reflectance of light? It's a two-parter.
Okay, so the measurements are based on reflectance. So that's it's calibrated to a white tile, and that white tile is sort of set as the 100% reflectance. And then when you measure your color, it's taking each wavelength from 400 to 700 nanometers, and it's saying how much 400 nanometer light is being reflected relative to what's being reflected for that white standard, how much 410, 420, 430. And so that is given as a percent reflectance compared to the amount of light from that white standard. So it's a reflectance. Let me share my screen. Okay, so gloss, when light reflects off of a surface, when you have a point light source or a directional light source, some of that light is going to bounce off of the surface at the opposite angle, and we refer to that as the specular angle. That's the angle that the observer in this picture is standing at. And so the higher the specular reflection, the glossier the surface, right? And so an observer standing on that spot would see a reflection of the light source, and he would see what we commonly refer to as glare. And so the glossier the surface, the higher that specular reflection, the more crisp and clear that light source is going to look, and the more light in general you're getting at that specular angle. Now, that light that isn't reflected at the specular angle is reflected at diffuse angles. This is where we measure color. So gloss is measured at the specular angle, color is measured at diffuse angles. And so for a very glossy surface where you're getting lots of specular reflection and very little diffuse reflection, those colors are going to look darker to us because we're getting less reflected light at these diffuse angles. Whereas for a matte surface, a low gloss surface, which is what we're looking at here, you're going to get higher diffuse reflection. So the color is going to look lighter. Okay. So this is how gloss affects our perception of color. So we have two panels here. The one on the left, the entire thing is coded in the same color black. The one on the right, the entire thing is coded in the same color red. but the two sides of each panel look very, very different because on half of it, there was a glossy clear coat applied. Okay, so the pigmentation of the two sides is exactly the same. It's only the gloss that's different. And so we see the glossier side as being darker and more chromatic. So because of that, there are two common designs, two common geometries of color instruments, and that's the sphere and the 45-0. So 45-0 uses a directional light source in the at 45 degree illumination and 0 degree detection. So it's detecting the color at that diffuse angle, right? And so this is going to see color as we see it. It's going to measure color as we see it, meaning it's going to measure glossier colors as being darker, even when the pigmentation is the same, right? And then the sphere spin, that uses a diffuse light source. And so that eliminates the effect of your gloss or texture. And that's only going to measure the pigmentation of the surface. It's going to ignore the surface effects and only measure the pigmentation, right? So if we measure the two sides, don't worry about specs for now. But if we measure the two sides of these panels, the glossy versus the matte side, we're going to see significant differences with the 45-0 geometry. It's going to measure the glossy side as being darker, just like how we see it being darker. So that's accurate to what we see. The spin geometry is for measuring the pigmentation. So it's going to measure the two sides as being the same, even though they look different because the pigmentation is the same. So it's not so much about accuracy as it is just what you're looking for in the measurement. If you're trying to match the look of two surfaces, generally you want 45-0. And if you're just worried about the pigmentation, regardless of any gloss or texture, you want the sphere spin instrument.
Excellent. Thank you, Corey. Oh, glad that helped, Michelle. Good stuff. What other questions? We have about 12, 13 minutes left here. Anyone else have anything we can help with? I did just put the link to in the chat to the software. So make sure you're running the latest and greatest.
Always free. Updates are always free.
Yeah. Good deal. So we're looking for next year. We have a lot of the same topics as we did this year. Also looking to mix in some new stuff. So if you have any suggestions, any requests, you can email Corey or I, and we can get you covered there. Eduardo, what will be the best way to check if the lights in the light booth are still meeting the standard? Good question.
So you can send it to us to be recertified, but an easier way might be to get yourself a radiometer that can measure the output of those light sources, so you can measure that yourself.
Couple options. Yeah, and we'll be communicating more. We do have a full service department. We'll be communicating more of their capabilities and how they can help. We also do offer on-site calibrations. Thank you, Mike Peters, our RSM up in the Toronto area. So feel free to reach out to your regional sales rep, or you can respond to any of the marketing emails or reply to me, and we'll route you to the service department and get you scheduled. So that's something we offer as well. So what else, Corey? What's on your mind for end of the year wrap up? We've talked about a lot of stuff this year. I think we've given probably close to 70 webinars this past year. You doing, a good bulk of it. So thanks for your expertise and your time and help with these.
Oh, thank you for your constant attempts to stump me. It keeps me on my toes.
I know. Yeah, I don't think we did it this year, did we? I'll keep trying next year. Maybe we'll be a little more successful.
Chemistry questions always stump me, so I don't know if that was a plant or what, but yeah, chemistry questions at me, you know.
Yeah, nah, that's beyond me. But yeah, do you see any other trends, industry trends going on in like color and appearance or even physical test that folks should be aware of or look for in the coming year?
Just that all the most successful companies seem to have BIC instruments for some reason. It must be a correlation there.
Must be a correlation. No, but if we can help in any way, reduce scrap and waste, streamline efficiencies, and help you and your suppliers hit the color the first time, definitely reach out to any of us. We're here, we're able to help. I don't see any other questions. Going once, going twice. Okay, I think that's a wrap there, Corey. Thank you everyone for attending and for the lively discussion. Very much appreciated. Also, stay tuned. Look for our schedule. It'll come out in January for our next office hours, as well as the 60 minutes. Have a great and safe holiday, and enjoy your time with friends and family, and stay safe. Thanks from all of us here at BIC. Thank you, Corey.